my brow pencil and no, you lying. What's up, sis, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hey, I am so happy to be back. I am so happy to be back on the tube, so happy to be back on your screens. It's been a minute, but I have good reason why. It has been a crazy, busy, struggle, tough last few months, okay? It's been rough, but you know, that's what happens. You know, life gets in the way, responsibilities are there, and you know, just gotta do what you gotta do, sis. But now that is all settled and done, I am back and I'm bringing you all the content. So what I wanted to start with today was my makeup routine, and this makeup routine is specifically going to be with my eyelash extensions. I'm going to be showing y'all my products. I'm going to be showing y'all my steps. Some might be a little different than what you're used to seeing, but that's okay, sis. So what I need you to do before we do anything else, I need you to like, comment, and subscribe, and then don't forget to turn the bell notification on, because she's back. And she's here to stay. So I need you to make sure that you are fully aware when I'm posting my videos. Also, go follow me on Instagram, follow me on Snapchat, Facebook, whatever you want to use, Twitter, even though I don't get on there. Follow me on whatever social media platform that you're on, sis. I don't care what it is. Say hey to me, say what's up. Send me a prayer, whatever you want to do. But without further ado, let's get on into the video. Okay, so now that the intro is done, the first thing that I usually do is put in my contacts. So I do wear glasses, and these are prescription glasses because I am blind, honey, blind, okay? I cannot see a thing. So I'm going to put these on really quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back with the contacts in, ready to go. So the next thing I do in my routine is moisturize. I moisturize my skin, pretty much any skin in this area, I moisturize it. Typically, I use a toner and then I moisturize, but I've already done that today, so I'll just tell you what I use. So to tone my skin, I use the Urban Skin RX, and this is the Witch Hazel Brightening and pH Balancing Toner. And then to moisturize, this is my daily moisturizer, which is the Art Naturals Luxe Skincare Anti-Aging Hydrating Moisturizer for dry skin. This is the moisturizer I use. I love it. It's a really big jar, so I don't know when I'll probably ever run out, because you only need like a dime size amount. But I love this moisturizer. So after I moisturize, I have to moisturize my lips, because as you can see, I have full lips. So that means my lips are prone to getting a little dry. Ain't nothing wrong with it when your lips get dry, sis. You know, ain't nothing wrong with that. Just fix it. So I'm just gonna take an EOS balm in the stick, and I'm just gonna apply that just to make sure my lips are hydrated as we go on through this routine. Simple. Keep you some. Keep some in your purse, in your pocket, in your shoe, wherever you keep your stuff, keep some. So next, what we're going to move on to is the base. Now, I know a lot of you are like, girl, like, don't you do your eyebrows first? Actually, I don't. I used to do my eyebrows first, but from learning different techniques of being a makeup artist, you've just learned to take on different types of techniques that work best for your skin. And what works best for my skin is doing my base first. So what I typically do, I go in and I prime first. I typically use is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I love this stuff. It's cheap, easy to get your hands on, and I mean, it's good. So what I just do, I just go ahead and smooth this all around. Pretty much, I don't put it all over my face. I pretty much just put it in the places that I get oily. Usually just put it here in my T-zone on my pores, because, girl, I have some big pores. I don't know where it came from, but they just there, and I don't like it. I go over my nose. I go over my forehead here, pretty much, like I said, anywhere I get oily. Next thing I do, which is kind of weird, but if you are a YouTuber or a YouTube watcher, you're pretty familiar with the queen, Miss Jackie Aina. Jackie. You know who she is. So if you are not familiar with her trick, what Miss Jackie Aina does is that she takes a translucent, well, not translucent, she takes a loose powder, and basically she puts the powder in the areas that she typically gets oily to help your makeup last longer and to help it prevent you from getting so oily. So typically what I just use my Fenty Beauty powder, and this is in the shade Nutmeg. Typically just take my powder and I get my beauty sponge, and let me go ahead and tell you right now, no, my brushes and my sponges are not clean, so do not come for me, okay? So what I just do is I take my sponge, I just dip into the powder, just like so, tap off the excess, and I just go right in those places, pretty much where I just put my primer. And remember, these are the places that I get oily, so pretty much this is going to help contain that oil, help my makeup last a lot longer. I also put it over my little mustache area because, you know, the Lord decided that he was going to give women mustaches. So, you know, I'm just going to put it over there, and I'm going to put it on my forehead. Like I said, pretty much anywhere I put that primer from the jump. And boom, you see how I'm already looking flawless already, and that's just the first layer, honey. I haven't even got started yet. So after I finish that is my powder. And now we're about to get into the foundation, which is my favorite part. Okay, so now that we're back with foundation, the foundation that I've currently been using and loving and is my holy grail, and I don't want to talk to or look at anyone else, I've been using the Lancome Tint Idol foundation, and I am in the shade 510 Suede C. I think that's what it's called. So typically what I do, I'm not gonna lie, I probably use more than I should, but I mean, it's mine, I pay for it, so whatever. But usually I take me a few pumps on the back of my hand, like so. And what I have also learned to do is I take a brush, and like I said, my brushes are dirty, so do not come for me, okay? But usually I take a brush, like a flat top brush, kind of like this. I don't know why I'm showing y'all this close up, I'm so sorry, it's dirty. But I take a flat brush just like this, and I go into my foundation and I apply it everywhere on my face. I like to do this just because when you are putting on your foundation, you want to make sure you are covering, sis. What's the point of you putting on foundation if you're not finna cover your face? That's the point of it, you know. But hey, to each his own, you do what you want to do. It also helps me spread my foundation out, just so that way when I'm blending it, that it spreads a lot easily, and I know that my foundation is not stuck all into one spot on my face. So basically I'm just going around, putting it pretty much everywhere with this brush. This is a really great technique just to make sure that you are getting your foundation everywhere, sis, in every crevice. And sometimes after I do apply my foundation, I like to go back in with another pump because, you know, some areas need a little bit more love than others. But basically I just go over certain areas that I feel like need a little bit more coverage. Typically that's like my mustache area, my chin, kind of underneath my lip because it's always dark around my mouth, and a little bit by my nose, and that's it. So now that we have spread that evenly, I'm just going to take my Real Techniques Instapop brush that I love. I raved about this in my Makeup Essentials video. You can go check that out. I have like a little card at the top for it. But basically, I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to tap all around my face. You do not want to swipe. Swiping will leave you with brush stroke, and that's not cute. Even with this brush, it doesn't really leave brush strokes, but still you want to just make sure and just go ahead and tap that in. And do not forget your neck. I don't know who I'm talking to. Blend down your neck, okay? I'm sorry, girl, but that really, like, it bugs me when I see girls that don't blend down the neck. Blend down your neck or you will have a mask. I don't care how great of a match that foundation is. Blend down your neck, girl. And I go over a good bit before I move on, just so I can make sure that I am all set to go, because I don't like patchiness or anything like that, okay? So now that we've done that, we're going to move on to the concealer. So the concealer I have been using, as soon as I find it, the concealer I have been using is the Born This Way concealer, and I am in this, to say a prayer because I cannot speak today. The shade I am in is in Chai, and or shy, whatever you want to say, but this is the shade I am in. I have done a little different type of technique when it comes to my concealers. I don't get as bright of a concealer as I used to. I used to be like white, and I noticed that that would make me look casket ready. So I would get a shade now that's probably like a shade and a half from my foundation, from like my skin tone. Not 2 or 3 shades, but like a shade and a half, maybe even not a half, maybe a shade under my foundation. So I'm just gonna take this and I'm just going to apply this pretty much everywhere that I usually put my concealer. In a triangle, I go down my nose, I go up, I go onto my forehead, just like so. I know you can barely see it. Let me try to adjust my lighting up. I don't know if that really helps, but yeah, there's the concealer. I know you really can't see it because it's so close to my foundation shade, but trust me, girl, trust me. But also, don't forget, what may work for me may not work for you. This may not be a technique that you really like, and you do not have to do it, girl. Nobody's telling you to do it. I'm not telling you to do it. This is just what I'm doing, and I'm just going to share with y'all what I typically do. So next, I'm going to take my beauty sponge, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this sponge was from L'Oreal. I got it a long time ago, and it's so good. As you can see, I do have it wet. So when it's wet, it's super bouncy. So typically, I take a sponge to blend out my concealer instead of a brush. I know it's like people use a sponge for everything, or they may use a brush for everything, but I use a brush for my foundation, sponge for my concealer. So what I like to do is I like to work chin, above upper lip, nose, forehead, then under eyes. I do the under eyes last because if you have not heard, the longer you have your concealer sit, the better the coverage will be. So I'm just going to blend my concealer out on my chin, going around in the areas that I pronounced, well, that I said. So just my chin, top of my lip. I probably should stop talking until I finish this part. Go to my nose, and typically what I do is I squeeze it just so that my concealer on my nose isn't just like going absolutely everywhere. Now that I've done that, what I typically like to do is go back in with my foundation brush, and I go around the edges of my concealer. I'm trying to get this lighting right so that y'all can see. Okay, that's 10 times better. Okay, so what I typically do is I like to go around where I put my concealer with the foundation brush that I just had, and I just go over those edges just to make sure that it's blended out seamlessly. So then I go back with my sponge and I just go underneath my eyes. What I found works best for me is that I kind of squeeze my sponge, because if I just go in like with this big old sponge under my eye, my concealer possibly could just get everywhere. So I found that when I pinch it a tad bit, it gives me more control of where the concealer is going, and it goes where I want it to go. And what I typically do on this end is I take the bigger side of my sponge and I just blend that out with the bigger side, just so they can blend into that concealer, well, excuse me, that foundation much more seamlessly. Just going to do the same on the other eye. Y'all tell me down in the comments, what do y'all do in y'all makeup routine first? Do y'all do brows first? Do y'all do base first? Do y'all do eyes first? Like, what do you do? There is no wrong or right answer because makeup is so creative, and that's the great thing about it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. There are no rules to it. You just have fun with it. So now that that's all blended out and I'm looking crazy, now what I typically like to do is, since I have just put on my concealer, I go in with my Laura Mercier powder, and this is in the shade Translucent Honey, and I do a light set under my eyes, and I'll explain what that means when I do it. But I typically take a brush, just like a fluffy type brush. I go back in with my sponge. I make sure that I blend out my concealer so it doesn't set in my creases. I go in with my powder, go in with that brush, just the smallest amount, because you don't need a lot, because we're going to actually set it a little bit later. But I go in with the smallest amount on my brush, and I set where my creases are, like that area right underneath my eye first. Before I set the entire concealer, I go right underneath there first, just so that way while I'm doing other things, my concealer isn't creasing, it's not crease city underneath my eyes while I'm working on other parts of my face. Next thing I like to do, which a lot of people say it's pretty much an unnecessary step, they don't do it, it's just a waste of time, but I figured that with my skin, it really just wakes me up. I've done it a lot on my clients, and I've started to do it on myself, and I really love it. I typically bronze my skin with the Black Opal foundation sticks, and well, typically I use the shade Suede Mocha, and they come like this, and you just roll them up. So there are two ways you can go about doing this. You can apply this directly to your skin, or you can take a brush, stipple it on there, and then apply it. I've done both ways, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, whichever one is comfortable for you. But typically what I do is I go in with the stick on the places I want to bronze, just like so. So I go around my forehead. Keep in mind, I'm just doing this as a demonstration. I usually don't do my forehead step until after my scarf is off, because, you know, it's gonna look a little crazy. But y'all not gonna see that part. Y'all gonna see when I'm like snatched and ready. But I take these smallest, like these smallest amounts on my nose, because you do not want to have your nose contour being super harsh. So literally just the smallest amount. Once I've done that, I go in with my Real Techniques. I think this is the this is the cheek brush. So this is the Instapop cheek brush. So good for cream bronzer. So what I just do is I use that flat part and I go up, push up. You never want to go down. You want to go up. So basically I just go and I blend that upwards. You want to make sure that this is blended out perfectly, because this can leave harsh lines on your face. But can you see, I know I put bronzer on that side, but can you see already how much bronzier that side of my face is looking? So I just blend that out like so, all around my forehead, just like so. Like I said, I typically do that last, but since we are just doing a demonstration today, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Like I said, we're pushing up, 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 up. You do not want to go down. So now that that's set, we're going to go back into some of the powders, and then we're going to keep going from there. Okay, so we are back, and before we go into the powder step, don't forget about your nose contour. So I just take like a angled type of fluffy brush, and I just go ahead and blend my nose out. I typically don't go up just like that yet because I like to do that with the powder instead of the cream, because sometimes the cream can be a little harsh. So I like to keep the cream just right here, just in case I need to blend it out a little bit more. So now that we're looking a lot more bronzed and awake and alive, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is setting the face. So what I typically do, which this is so unnecessary, but this is just what I do. So I take a little bit of my Laura Mercier powder, and I also take a little bit of my Sacha Buttercup powder. And basically I just get a little bit of both if she ever wants to come out. Okay, so I take a little bit of both and I mix them together. Like I said, this is so unnecessary. This is so extra. You do not have to do this step, but I've just noticed that there are different components of each powder that I love, and I was like, well, why not use them together, girl? So I just take it in like the little top and I just like swirl it on up. Like I said, totally not necessary. This is just what I do. So next I go back in with my sponge and I just dip in there in that top and I tap off. This is very important. This is probably why some of y'all be looking like ghosts. I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying. I tap off the excess on the back of my hand. Do you see all that powder that was just on that sponge? Tap off the excess. You do not want to put all that powder underneath your eyes. That's how you get flashback. That's how you get cakey. Tap off the excess. So in a sense, it's like I'm baking, but it's a very, 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 very light bake. I typically don't bake like that anymore just because I really wasn't liking the result. So you just keep going back into that powder and you're pretty much going to set everywhere that you put that concealer. Everywhere you put the concealer. Down your nose. And it's totally fine if you go over your nose with the powder. Don't forget, we still have to set our cream products. That bronzer is not set yet, so it's okay. You go over it a little bit. So now that we set there, we're going to move on. This is the time that I typically like to do my brows. And I know a lot of y'all are thinking like, girl, you do all of that, then you do your brows? Yes, I have learned that I just like the look a little bit better when my brows are done after my base. What I typically use is my Benefit Brow Pencil, Precisely My Brow Pencil. This is in the shade 5. I'm not sure like what the actual color is, but it's the number 5. So I just take my pencil. Well, first, of course, I like spoolie out my brows. You want to comb out those hairs, comb them up, just like so. So I'm just going to take my brow pencil and no, you lying. Okay, so since that didn't work out in our favor, I need to go buy a new brow pencil. We're gonna use a backup. So for my backup, I use the NYX Micro Brow Pencil, which is just as good as the Precisely My Brow. Don't get me wrong, it's just as good. Hold on, girl, let me scroll. Okay, it's enough. Okay, so I use this and I typically use the shade Espresso. So my brows typically take me a little bit, so I'm not going to bore you. If you guys would like to see a brow routine, please let me know down in the comments. But I'm going to do my brows and I will come back when I'm about to clean them up. Okay, so I am back with the brows filled. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not as satisfied because I'm so used to my Precisely My Brow Pencil, but I promise this NYX pencil works just as good. I just haven't used it in a long time, so sorry. But yeah, so we're about to go into concealing my brows. So what I typically use is a flat brush. I typically use a flat brush like this, just like that, and I clean my brows up with it. And I just go in with the concealer that I used underneath my eye. And I just clean up right underneath my brows. Now, obviously, with me having lash extensions, this step is super, super hard because my lash extensions are very long and big. Just go underneath my brow just like so. I'm not too big and like a big old crazy arch. I just typically follow the natural shape of my brows. I don't really go too crazy with the arch, just because I really just like the way that my brow shape is. It's more of I guess you can say it's more of a straight brow, but I do really like it, so I typically don't go too crazy at the arch area. And I will say I am a bold little girl today talking while I'm doing this step, because usually I'm quiet and holding my breath. After I clean up underneath my brows, I blend it out. So I know what y'all thinking. You're like, girl, you do not go at the top of your brow. So listen, I promise I'm all for that technique. I'm all for that trend. But I have learned over the years that if you learn a good way to do your brows, it's really not needed. And plus, I have kind of grown more into a more natural looking brow, other than a more like pow, like pop. Sorry, that probably scares you, but you know, a more like popping type of brow. I kind of went away from that just a little bit. I've kind of gotten more into the natural brow, looking like hairs, not tattooed on type of brows. If you're all for those brows, no one is telling you what to do with your makeup. I'm not telling you what to do. You do whatever you feel comfortable with your makeup and your brows. I just know for myself, I have gotten more into the natural brow look, so I do not conceal at the top of my brows anymore. So I'll just go back in with my spoolie or my eyebrow pencil, and I'll just kind of brush out the front part of the brow just a little bit more, just to make sure it's not boxy and square looking. Okay, next thing I do, which is totally not necessary again, but this is just something I do. I can almost guarantee that I won't find it. We're gonna speed this up while I'm looking for it. Okay, I found it. So I use a brow gel on my brows. Once again, this is another step that's really not necessary. You don't have to do it. I just like the look that it gives my brows. I'm using the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. I just like the look that it gives. It kind of makes your brows look more like hair. Like I said, it gives you that more natural brow look, other than the sculpted, tattooed on brow look. Okay, so next thing I do, since I do have eyelash extensions, I do not do any eyeshadow. Biggest thing with eyelash extensions is the longevity of them. You want to make sure you have them last as long as possible, so you're not running back every week to go get your eyelashes filled. So to prevent that, I try my best to make sure I'm not putting too much around my eyes. I'm very careful when I wash my face, and I try not to wear any eye makeup. And let's be real, y'all see my eyelash extensions. I don't really need to wear eyeshadow because it's just gonna cover it. One thing I do is I take a spoolie and I just brush my eyelash extensions. I usually have a little spoolie that I use specifically for my eyelash extensions, but girl, today we're just gonna use the spoolie that was on my brow brush. Don't come for me. Don't talk about me. Don't tell your mother about me. Well, no, tell your mom about me and tell her to watch my videos, okay? Okay, so now that we have done the brows, we brush out the lashes. Don't forget, we have powder on our face. So, and we need to set our cream bronzer as well. I go in and I set my cream bronzer first, and I use my Morphe Glamazon bronzer in Trailblazer. This was in my Essentials makeup video as well. Go check that out to learn a little bit more about it. But I just take a little bronzer brush. I just go in, tap a little bit, tap off the excess. Do not put all that bronzer on your face. And I just go and I just stipple it lightly just to set it. So yeah, that's typically what I do. Perfect. So now that you've done that, what I typically do is I take my foundation brush again, and don't forget the places that you put that powder. I just go back over those places with my foundation brush and I push the powder in. Instead of me wiping the powder away, I push it in, which is why I don't fully bake, because that could have you looking like Casper. Once I do that, I'm gonna go back with my bronzer again. I'm gonna take that same brush that I use for my cream bronzer, take the slightest amount, and I'm going to set my nose. And I wanna show you guys this. When I say I'm barely even touching my nose, I have the lightest hand. You wanna be very light-handed with this because contouring your nose can get a little cray. I know, I've seen. And if it gets a little too out of hand, girl, just go back in with that foundation brush and just go around those edges. Just like so. So after that, I do take a pressed powder, or you really don't have to take a pressed powder if you don't want to. This foundation really doesn't need to be set, because at this point I've already put a lot of powders and stuff on my face, so I usually don't set it. But if I do want an extra security blanket, I go in with my Sephora. I don't think y'all saw that, but the little sponge just came out. We don't know her. We don't use her. She wasn't invited. This is the Sephora Compact, and this is in Neutral Mocha. So I just use that with a big old fluffy brush. This is the Real Techniques. This is actually a blush brush. Excuse me. Blush brush, okay? But I just use it for my powder. I just take a little bit and I just really set like here and down my neck where I put that foundation. We're almost there, sis. I promise, and I promise I do not take this long. Just with me explaining everything, you know, it gets a little lengthy. So next thing we're gonna do is blush. So actually I learned this technique from Beats by Deb. She's on YouTube and she's also on Instagram. What she does is she takes a blush brush, which I just use a big old powder brush, and she takes the Juvia's Place, the Zulu palette, and she uses the orange and the yellow as her blush. So in a sense, it's almost like with the orangey tone and the yellow tone, it almost gives you more of a bronzer look than a blush look. But I like that a lot better. I like how it makes me look more sun-kissed and warm. So what I just do is I just go in lightly because these are pigmented. I just go in there, I just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So once you do that, you're pretty much almost there. You're almost to the finish line. So what I typically like to do, I just go around my sponge, I hit around one more good time everywhere. And then next I go in with my setting spray. So I use the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I love this, so I'm just gonna spray. Yes, I like to spray a lot. I'm just gonna spray, and what I do next is sometimes I use my sponge, sometimes I use my foundation brush, but I just go back in and I just tap that setting spray into my skin. This is going to ensure that your makeup lasts longer, and it's also going, it's also going to prevent you from having any watermarks on your face from when the setting spray dries. Also, as well, gives you more of a skin look. Doesn't give you that powdery look that some people may have after they put all those powders on their face. My next favorite thing, the highlighter. What I've been using lately is the Beats by Deb highlighter, and it looks like this. And it comes in this gorgeous little jar. I love it. And it also comes with this little cap on the top so it's not flying everywhere. You do not need a lot at all. So typically I just take my highlighter brush. I just literally go in there like that. Like I just touch it. You don't even need to do that much. I feel like that's even a lot, as you can see. Tap that off. Tap it off, or you're going to be seen from Pluto. Not even Mars, girl, Pluto. So you're just gonna put that on the apples of your cheeks. And I use a very, 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 very light hand for this. You do not need to use a lot. I mean, unless you want to, girl, it's totally up to you. I'm not, like I said, I ain't telling you what to do. So let me stop telling you what to do. If you wanna throw this whole thing on your face, I am here for it. And I just put that on the apples of my cheeks and I work backwards. Just like so. And I'm using a very light hand with tapping and almost like a circular tap. So like going in like a circle and just moving back. Just take a little bit on my nose. Use my finger to dab it out because it can get a little gray. And just a little bit on the nose bridge. Just like that. So now that we have done the brows, the base, the highlighter, the blush, all of that in the above, I'm going to quickly put some bottom mascara on and then we're going to get into my new lip combo that I've been using. So basically what I do is I start off with the lip brush and I use the NYX Full Coverage Concealer. So I know you're thinking, girl, what the hell? But I promise it's going to come out good. So this is in the color Deep Espresso. So it's a brown shade and it's like the perfect like brown lip liner color. So I just take the lip brush and I just go in there just a little bit and I just line my lips with this. Keep in mind, I'm telling you right now, and I also think this is funny how I'm trying to talk while I'm doing my lips, but I'm telling you now, I already said it, this is not for longevity. This is literally for appearance. You're out with your boyfriend somewhere and y'all get, you know, don't get mad at me because I told you it wasn't meant for lasting like that. So I just go around and what I typically do is I like to go a little bit further down on my lips. So at least about like right here, at least about right here. I don't cover the full lip, but I do go a little down just a little bit on my lip, then just the like outer line part. This is another crazy step and y'all gonna be like, what's wrong with you? I take a nude pencil, like a nude eyeliner pencil. Stay with me. I take a nude eyeliner pencil and I just go over my lips with that. But what I do is I put it like right here in the center part, just like that. I go in with my gloss. Ooh, don't worry about which gloss it is. I need you to go follow 6 O'Clock Cosmetics on Instagram and maybe you'll get to see what type of gloss it is. But I go in with my nude gloss and I just go over top of this. So I'm sure right now y'all like, because I'm looking like, stay with me, okay? I see you leaving, come back. Okay, so next what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back in with that concealer, that brown concealer, and we're going to go back and reline again. Pat your lips together, blend that out. And you'll get like the perfect nude brown type of lip. As you can see, gorgeous. We love to see it. So lastly, I'm gonna go back in with my setting spray once again. And next, I need y'all to invest in one of these, a handheld fan. Just gonna go in with my fan and this time around, I'm going to dry my makeup with this fan just to make sure I know it's not going anywhere. Also, don't forget, blend that in too. Okay, so after you've done that, you're pretty much done, sis. So let me get myself back together and I'll be right back for the intro. Okay, y'all, look at you. You have made it to the end of the video. Thank y'all so much for watching, sitting with me, chatting with me. If you were doing your makeup with me, then you know we're here. Thank y'all so much for coming back to my YouTube. Thank you so much for all the constant support on everything that I am doing, whether I know you or I do not. Thank you so, so much for checking me out today, being with me, chilling with me, and just seeing what I do on a daily basis with my makeup. But I just want to say, make sure you come back, you like, you comment, you subscribe. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, my loves, and I will see you on the next video.